Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you all to this edition of The Insight. I am Babla Jonathan. Cameroon possesses a wealth of mineral resources, including oil, natural gas, cobalt, bauxite, iron ore, gold and diamonds. While hydrocarbons currently dominate the extractive industry, there is significant potential for growth in other mining sectors like iron ore, bauxite and cobalt. And in this program, we are scanning through the mining sector of Cameroon's economy. We are looking at how the country's mineral resources are exploited, who is doing what, and we are also looking at issues of transparency with the suspension of Cameroon in the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative twice, and what the government is doing now to regularize, to correct that situation, and of course make Cameroon acceptable within the context of the standards of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is Professor Calistus Gentry, Interim Minister of Mines, Industry and Technological Development of the Republic of Cameroon. Mr. Minister, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
First of all, edify us on how rich Cameroon is in terms of underground resources.
We've been over this several times, and I will go back to it, but just to say that our natural geographical location gives us a vantage point. We have the Congo Craton, we have the Cameroon volcanic line, which are unique lithological units in Africa. And therefore, we have iron ore on the Craton, we have cobalt, nickel, and those things are associated with that kind of environment, which this Craton straddles towards to Gabon, to Congo, and the rest, and we have similar minerals in those countries. And in the west part, we have the Cameroon volcanic line, where we have things like bauxite, and with new studies, we are beginning to see things like lithium, like rare earth metals, and the rest. Now, in between two big units, we have a very what we call the mobile belt, where we have gold, we have titanium, we have so this richness is the variety of things we have, which is because of our unique geographical situation. And recently, the World Bank made a study which has brought out even more anomalies, and very soon we'll be seeing gold in other parts of the country, even within the western part of the country, even around the center region and other places. So we have more depth of the extent of this potential, which again does not only translate in the mining potential, but in our agricultural potential, in the diversity even of our cuisine. It's just a position that we have to take advantage of, because that is what makes us a great nation.
Will it be right to say Cameroon is rich?
Of course. We have, if you look at bauxite, after Guinea, we're the second largest owner of non-reserves in Africa. If you look at the iron ore, we have about 6 iron ore deposits dotted from Balam right through the south region, and with others that will come into perspective. We have the largest laterite cobalt deposit in the world. We have many firsts, and in our sedimentary basins, in the littoral and in the extreme north, we have littoral southwest, and we have sedimentary basins which have natural gas and oil. It's an understatement to say that we are rich. We are super rich.
So I ask that question because there seems to be a gap between Cameroon, which is a rich nation, when we look at the mineral resources and the living conditions of the people, the standard of living in the country. Cameroon is rich, but Cameroonians are poor.
Yes, and let me take you to this adage: every country has a potential. What makes a country rich? What makes a country solve its problems? What makes people to benefit from this world is how that is translated by a vision and a strategy to the benefits of the people. And that's what we're doing currently. We have a vision for the mining sector. We have a strategy for industrial growth through value chains. We have a strategy for technological development, which is already indicated by the fact that we have the best geographical indicators in Africa, which have an economic impact. So I think the whole point is that anybody who lays a vision and a strategy, sometimes even without resources, is going to be a leader. The case of United Arab Emirates is a desert, but they have a vision. They transform it into an oasis. So we have everything it takes, but let us not get consumed by this adage of potential. Canada has potential. Margaret Thatcher once said, Russia has the greatest potential in the world, but Russia wasn't the greatest economic power. Potential must be matched by a vision and a strategy, which must weigh into world situations to take advantages. You must present yourself better than other people. You must add value chains to it. You must do everything to render this potential to a life-transforming experience. That's what touches the lives of the people. If we allow potential to remain, go to Minimatav. You can take the bauxite and construct your house with. It's just soil like anything. So chances are that if you do not take advantage of potential, technology might catch up with you one day, and you'll find that what you are calling a wonderful thing today might no more be useful. So potential must be exploited, given value at a given time. And that's what we're trying to do.
And that's why the Cameroon government, via your ministry, with your leadership, is working to transform those resources into meaningful benefits to Cameroonians, to the nation. And we're going to look at how far you've gone with that, what you've been doing so far. But it looks like the country's underground resources are still quite intact. Not much has been extracted.
Of course, much is intact, and if we don't do the right extraction, it's better not even to do it. I'll give you the example of gold. Just tell me what this country has gained from children dying in badly structured places in the East. What does the country gain? What do the people gain?
In illegal mining.
Name me one rich person from that zone who has benefited from mining. But the worst thing is that if you have gold and you extract it wrongly, you extract less than 30% of the gold. And that gold is taken back into the system, and it will take millions of years to recycle it back into a deposit. But if we are introducing three things: legislation, technology, and the environment, this makes this is a key we are using. We have passed beautiful legislation which allows a country to not wait on dividends, but to take what is a production sharing, which is the first of its kind in Africa. We have put technology that people should not be treating gold in the open air, leaving holes for people to destroy agricultural land. We have insisted that it should be done in a closed system where the rates of recovery are up to 90%. That takes care of the environment. That's why today we have separated artisanal mining, sensu stricto, which the local man can do as his farm, from artisanal mining where people use mechanized means. These two are all artisanal, but they have been made to protect the environment. The small guy is not going to dig very big holes and create problems for us. But the guy using equipment must pay a caution so that if he doesn't finish that, we will use that to ask somebody to do the work. That's why for every hectare you ask in semi-mechanized mining, you have 3 million. The maximum to get is 21 hectares. You have to pay 63 million, which is kept in a guarantee at the Caisse Autonome, where once you finish your work, that money will be paid back to you. If you don't finish it, the state will use that money to repair the environment. That is a vision. That is a plan. And Sonamin can now go to that place where we know everybody who is working with equipment and recover 25% for the state. That becomes a viable option. You go to Baturi today, you go to Betua, you see people building beautiful houses because the dream is settling in, because people are now benefiting from the sector based on legislation, based on technology, and based on the environment.
Before we get into looking at how you're going about the different projects. Tell us a little more about the code, the mining code, which is like the guideline in the exploitation process.
Well, I must say we did a lot. We did a lot of consultations. We have come out with a mining code. I dare say many countries, many ministers from other countries are coming to us to share our experience. The International Secretariat of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative is taking some of our examples as a standard for application in the world. So our legislation broke this barrier of depending on dividends. As I said before, you can have 10%, which they always dump to governments in Africa, as what you own in a mining project, or you will not contribute, but you have 10%. But can you get dividends out of it? Yeah, you have 10% of 90, somebody has 90%. You have no say in the company. So legislation, we attacked it and put a production sharing agreement. That means the day the project starts, government has, besides this 10%, a production sharing agreement, which is given and collected by Tsunami, and the state starts from the day one receiving benefits from that project. I can list you a whole plethora, but that mining code is meant to attract, but there are undertones that attraction should benefit Cameroonians. When I defended it in Parliament, I did it with passion, because I knew that every single article in that legislation is going to be a transformation to overturn this curse of mining being there, resources being there, but the people are rejected.
Now, how much is Cameroon, as per the code, how much is Cameroon, apart from the 10%, benefiting from the exploitation of her mineral resources? Recently, there were some politicians, including the national president of the Cameroon Party for National Reconciliation, Kabalibi, who came out to say that Cameroon is having peanuts, so to speak, and all the money, all the resources are going to especially the foreign partners who are coming in to help in the exploitation process.
Let me tell you something. First thing, the production sharing is just one item. The community in which that is taking place has royalties, which get up to 5%. The company is a normal business. It will still pay taxes to the state as any other business, which can get up to 35%. So there's a whole list of things. There is a fund which is paid about 1.5% for the development of the local community. There's local content. Yesterday, I challenged all these self-made experts to face me in a televised debate, and they should do a comparative study of what is done elsewhere and what we are doing. Let me tell you that in Australia, foreign companies are operating. They started mining. Let me tell you that in Canada, foreign companies are operating. No country develops its own resource. Let me tell you that in the North Sea oil, British companies are operating alongside other foreign companies. It's a global trade. You cannot. I want that people should be responsible in their declarations. Somebody gets on and says, when it happened, give us the statistics. We have negotiated one of the best mining conventions about bauxite. Our bauxite is 800 kilometers away from the port. In Guinea, all bauxite is around 50 kilometers from the port, so it's a viable venture. Now, to make somebody be interested in exploiting bauxite 800 kilometers away means that there's a transport component, which makes it less attractive. We rendered it attractive by selling the project, making concessions, but insisting on transformation in Cameroon. That transformation is going to cost the company $2.5 billion to build a plant from transforming bauxite to alumina.
We'll certainly talk more about that, Mr. Minister.
I'm just trying to give you those who are experts who say that we are giving away this or that. They don't understand the industry. And I'm not boasting, but I come with real experience because I've negotiated deals in the private sector. That is my career. I want that when people speak, we should sit and they give me an example which is better. People should not criticize without giving an alternative. The bauxite has been there since independence. We want to move it. Show us a better deal than what we are doing. That is what I mean by don't listen to those statements, because it's a social media wash-up and political rhetoric. It has no basis. Otherwise, I challenge the MP or anybody to come and sit with me in a televised debate with you.
Right. So I want to get something clearly. Earlier you said that no country develops its own resources. I want to be sure that I got it clearly. Did you mean no country develops its own resources by itself alone?
Yes. South Africa is made of foreign companies. Listen, Cameroon is setting an example. The first 2 projects that are starting in this country, Mr. Babila, return this. The first 2 projects. will be starting the test projects for Grand Zambi, the first iron ore. Is owned 100% by Cameroon. Are we together? Kodias, the first industrial gold production, is owned by Cameroon. Now, in South Africa, it took 200 years for the average South African, the black man, to be involved in mining, and he had to go through parliamentary legislation. This is a cartel. You have Rio Tinto, you have BHP Utah. They are global operators. They operate everywhere. Just like you have Pectin. You have all the companies that are oil companies. They operate here. They operate in Guinea. They operate in South America. Mining is a global venture. So the fact that we are starting with Cameroon companies shows that we have lifted, the lever is above everybody. And go to Guinea. So, the biggest iron ore project is run by the same people you see around the world. The investments, tell me which Cameroonian wants to build a refinery of bauxite at $2.5 billion. Tell me the name and we'll give him to do it. These are risk projects. We can only say that in some countries, the state's participation one day will be divulged to floating the shares on the local exchange for Cameroonians to be involved. But we are involving Cameroonians. Should we say that the Cameroonians should cough out $5 billion to develop Minimatap? Of course.
Dangote has done more than that in neighboring Nigeria.
Dangote is developing industry, sir. The mining industry is, we are not seeing what you are developing. It's a risk. There is fluctuation of metal prices you have to deal with. That's why the World Bank does not advise any country, a nation, to be involved in mining. Liberate it to private people, let them take the risk. If we were going to put iron ore, some 5 years or 7 years ago, iron ore dropped to $40. Supposing we invested in it as a government, we will not pay salaries. It's a risk business. When you are developing an industry, it's different. You are dealing with a resource. Somebody tells you that there is this thing in the ground, you have to believe him. Sometimes the reserves have to change. Sometimes, so you are dealing with an industry that has a lot of surprises. There is in companies what is called hedging. People who will sit and sell that mine 20 years from today just to stabilize prices. That means they take a risk. Let me give you an example. People can decide I will sell our gold at $2,000 an ounce. With time, gold might drop to $1,000. It might move to $4,000, but they took a risk to sell their gold at that price. So it's an industry managed with a lot of risk-bearing factors. So I don't see which Cameroonian, we have given the capacity for Cameroonian to take licenses. But on the way, they will see that they cannot go beyond a certain level.
So in a nutshell, we understand, Mr. Minister, that a nation cannot stand as an island, cannot function as an island.
Exactly.
There's need for foreign partners to come in different sectors to push forward the development strides of the country now.
Perenco is found here. Adax is found in many countries. Not only in Africa, in South America. So you can't say that, why are we only focusing on mining? Why do we not say that Cameroon should develop the petroleum sector? They are gigantic projects that we cannot even develop industries locally. Let's start with that. But the point is, it doesn't matter who develops an industry. We want that transformation and all those things should take place here so that jobs are created in Cameroon. That is a liberal economy. We have not refused anybody from developing the industry. Should we sit and wait for 2 centuries when Cameroonians are ready and become magnificent giants in the world before we save the lives of the very people you are saying to remove them from abject poverty?
So, Mr. Minister, tell us more about how the government, through the Ministry of Mines, Industry and Technological Development and other institutions like Sonamin, is organizing the extraction and transformation of the country's mineral resources.
As far as mining is concerned, we have put a vision for the mining sector. This vision revolves around 2 main factors. 1, we have identified 16 projects. By that I mean, yes, there is copper, there is bauxite here. We know the quantity. It is not more looking for it. We have found it. There is somebody following up that project. It will lead to fruition. We call it a project because we know that we are no more searching. We have found this quantity of thing here. So we can put some projects as 16 that we have identified. And we have structured this into those that are now producing, like Grand Zambi, which will start on the 12th, like Kodias in Colomine, which is producing already, like Sino Steel, which will enter production next year, like Camalco, which will start exporting bauxite in about 9 months' time. These are producing then short-term projects, medium-term projects, which we think that they need about 2 years before we can bring them to the production stage. And then long-term projects, which we have some deposits dotted, which might not even pass through our ports. We might take iron ore from Mayobinka and we transport it through Nigeria. We are centrally located and we have very powerful partners. If you produce anything in Cameroon, you have a neighbor who one day will get to 300 million. You will sell it to him. You have the CEMAC zone. So we have structured an industry where we have 16 projects. But let me tell you, while these 16 projects are identified, exploration is going on. We are giving licenses to bring other projects to this level. So there is exploration going on. But we have said there is something for everybody. In this chaotic sector, which is all that we have known since independence, we have artisanal mining. We have structured it with a vision. To say that if you get up in the morning, you come from a place which is rich in something, you can go like your farm and find something to survive. That you do with rudimentary basic equipment, which at the right time will even give it, just like agriculture gives tools to people to do farming. This ministry will give and say, okay, look, we want you to take this and use so that you can. But if you want to use equipment, which is what has brought all the big pools of lakes you see in the east, then we must regulate it. We must give you conditions. You must give us a small environmental impact, even though it's artisanal mining. But in that one, the state will get direct benefits. So we have separated that. And if you have to do it, you must do within a closed system so that recoveries are high, so that the environment is protected, so that it can at least generate jobs for the people in that area. And people will have a structured company which will pay taxes to the state at the region of 25% of the total amount collected. This is a vision. This is structured. 16 projects, maybe next year we'll add them to 20 as we see new projects. Then in the other section, we make sure that our children do not fall in gutters, in pits dug by people carelessly. It might be painful at the start, but we'll have a vision. And already I can tell you, some years ago, I went to the east about 7 years ago to start the collection of gold project. At that time, since independence, we had only 37 kilograms of gold. We have moved and we'll be heading to 2 tons of gold very soon, because we did a proactive thing in order to collect. If you can't beat them, join them. We just went out to say, okay, since you are doing this, we move from there and we have legalized that activity to become an operational function. At first, it was an illegal activity, but we are collecting. A responsible government cannot be collecting revenues from an illegal activity. So we legalize mechanized activity to what we are now calling semi-mechanized, so that government can legally collect taxes of 25% of total production. I think that's a vision. That's our vision for the mining sector. This project will start. The legislation allows us to start getting immediate benefits. Technology allows us to work and make sure that the environment is protected. All the local communities have input, things that you must do for that community. Development project, local input, making sure that subcontracting is given to local companies. There is a lot. I just wish that people could take that mining, could read and see how rich it is for the benefit of this country. But when we want to implement it, we face resistance. That is the problem. And that's why I'm taking this time to continue preaching. We're not seeking anything more than making people to understand that they ask relevant questions as to how this industry functions. Lawyers, bankers, journalists, everybody must know how this industry functions in order for their lives to change. Otherwise, it will pass people and they will not experience anything from it if they do not understand it.
Give us an understanding of the issues around the benefit that should go to the local communities harboring the different mining sites. There seem to be a lot of issues there.
No issues at all. The law is clear. The issues are that we have not started a typical mining project, and I'm about to start one. Grand Zambi is about to start. Sinus is about to start. So Colomin already started, and everything changes because the local community will collect 5% royalties. That means that 5% of the total production will be paid, and part of that amount will go to the local community. Let me tell you, it doesn't go to the division, it doesn't go to the region, it goes to the council in which that mineral is found. There is also a development fund that is given to improve the lives of the youths, to improve development structures in that area, which is again a percentage. Even at the level of quarries, we have imposed 1.5% of every quarry operating in that area as something they should pay to the council in order to develop and make projects for the council. So the local content is enormous, and there are specific projects you must do in every area. So I think people should take the pleasure of reading. They will understand. Where they do not understand, they can ask us questions. But if we are teaching people without a textbook, that lecture will be very difficult to be understood.
Why are people complaining? The case of Baturi, for example, why are they concerned?
Simply because they are not understanding. Let me give you an example. I like to come to this issue of Baturi because this company is called James Avenue. They took a license to explore for gold. After 3 years, the license needed renewal. That company, James Avenue, is owned by somebody from Baturi. He's a former senator and he died last year. That's the origin. It is a Baturi-based company. And so when he had to renew his license, he had not done much work. And in order for his visa from the presidency to be validated, we said he should bring in a technical partner because he was not fit to do the work alone. Good for what Cameroonians want. He did not go to look for a foreign partner. He went to look for a local partner, which is Codias, who already has a mine in Colomin. And when he brought it, he said, "This is my partner. Could we refuse? You want Cameroonians to do mining?" We said, okay. So Codias is invited by James Avenue, and the register of commerce of that company remains James Avenue. You can check it. So when we sent the document, because the minister must get approval from the presidency for renewal in the old mining code. With the new mining code, if we send it to the presidency and we don't get a reply, in 90 days we are obliged by law to sign it. But in the old code, we had to wait for the response. So when we send it, in that period when we send for renewal, the company assumed that they already had the license. And so there was a lot of animosity. Those who said this license is free, they were doing mechanized activity. The person was saying you don't have a right to do because it's my own. So in the middle of this strife, I decided to suspend the activities because there were conflicts. All the courts in Baturi were inundated with cases because while waiting, there was no clear ownership of this place. That's why the activity was suspended, because there were three actors. Those who had equipment, the local people who survived, and the man who said he's waiting for this. So when we suspended, there was peace. And finally, when the presidency gave us the ability to renew the license, we gave it. And therefore, that suspension stopped. So there was no more problem. But the people were not aware until I had to reconfirm to them that there is no suspension again, because that suspension is lifted. But under the new law, only those local people can work there, because those with mechanized equipment, the law does say that you cannot use mechanized equipment inside a licensed area. So where's the confusion? We are just implementing the law. And once people do not understand this law, there will always be friction. That's why we are taking the time to use popular media like Equinoxe to tell people how this thing works and to invite them. You know, if you are teaching students and they don't have a textbook, it's very difficult. A textbook is a mining code. They should read it. And where they have difficulties, they should come to us. We are ready to explain. I'm taking the pain to explain to you. I explain at Sago. I'm explaining how this thing works. If everybody understands, there will be no problem. This law is not signed by a minister. It's signed by the president of this country, that semi-mechanized activity should not take place within a licensed area. Let me tell you, just to conclude, if I already am a mining company, I've discovered my gold with an exploration license, I'm about to mine it, then I allow other people who are called semi-mechanized to be digging the same thing. What will remain there for me? That's why we have dedicated 3,000 square kilometers of area that are free. These areas are not in licensed areas where those who want to do mechanized activities should practice their activity. The minister is only executing a law that was passed by parliament and enacted by the head of state. That's all. And the problem is that people are not patient to read this law and see what is right and what is not right.
With your explanations about these and many other issues concerning the mining sector, the Guardian Post newspaper said you marveled stakeholders at the government action trade fair this week.
I don't want to take that credit. I'm only somebody executing the vision of the head of state. He wants to see this country, as you rightly said, benefit from its natural resources. This country, there's no limit to what we have. There's no region which will be let out of this. But we should only know that if we speak the truth and interpret this code according to how it was laid out, if it's a marvel, fair enough. But I'm only doing my duty to explain to people how this thing works. If it is not done that way, what you started with, there will be no change in the lives of Cameroonians.
All right, we're going to take a short break. Time for us to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week, the press review, and after that, we're going into some specific cases to tell you exactly what is being done on the ground, what has been done so far, and what is yet to be done. Stay with us. Municipal Update Daily reports that ravaging fire has rendered 20 internally displaced families in Kumba and Ememe Division, southwest region of Cameroon homeless, as the Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote visits the northwest region within the context of the 7th Steering Committee meeting of the Presidential Plan for the Reconstruction and Development of the Northwest and Southwest regions. The people of the region tell the horizon, solve Bamenda's need and not wants. According to the Chronicle Times, the President of the Republic sent Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote to the Northwest region with a special gift for the people. And the Guardian Post reports that the Prime Minister received an enthusiastic welcome in Bamenda. Municipal Update qualifies the manner in which the people of the Northwest region welcomed the Prime Minister as historic. And Cameroon Tribune tells its readers that the Prime Minister visited Bamenda to evaluate the progress made so far in the implementation of the Presidential Plan for the Reconstruction and Development of the crisis-stricken Northwest and Southwest regions of the country. The Guardian Post highlights what it qualifies as fruits of reconstruction, making specific allusion to Bamenda's first ever modern stadium inaugurated by the Prime Minister. The Sun 2025 presidential election. Anxiety rising, uncertainty looms. Issa Chiruma's resignation sparks controversy. UNDP's Bello Buba declares for president, but party's convention fails short of anticipated fireworks. Another issue of the Guardian Post says, after Chiruma, Bello Buba dumps beer, declares for president. The decision of Bello Buba Maigari to declare his intention to stand as candidate for the forthcoming presidential election is qualified as finalizing the Great Northern Breakaway with the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. The breakaway between the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM, and Issa Chiruma Bakari's Cameroon National Salvation Front and Bello Buba's National Union for Democracy and Progress, and the declaration of the candidacies of the two personalities is reduced to naught by the Communications Secretary of the CPDM, Professor Jacques Famendongo. In the meantime, the Median reports that President Paul Biya is positioning the Secretary General of the Presidency of the Republic, Minister of State Ferdinand Gongo, as de facto second in command, highlighting the audience with ministers and members of parliament at the Unity Palace. Concerning the mining sector, the Guardian Post tells its readers that Professor Fu Calistus Gentry, Interim Minister of Mines, Industry and Technological Development, marveled stakeholders and visitors at the Government Action Fair in Yaoundé. As reported by The Voice midweek, Minister Fu Calistus Gentry explained Cameroon's industrial future with 16 key mining projects. You're welcome back. We're still with our guest, Professor Fu Calistus Gentry, Interim Minister of Mines, Industry and Technological Development of the Republic of Cameroon. Mr. Minister, let's go into some specific cases now about the Mini-Matap bauxite project. How far have you gone with that project?
Yes, that's a project that takes me at heart, and that's why I'm very encouraged to do what is right. The truth is always going to be like gold. It gets better with time. When I put my technical viewpoint on this project, that company, I was their enemy. I insisted that they must transform bauxite to alumina in this country, otherwise such a convention will not be tenable. And I insisted that this company must have a strategic partner with experience in the bauxite sector. We got there. Today, there is somebody carrying this project. That's how we have moved. And today, I can assure you that on the 15th of this month, we will be launching the technical aspects of 8 points on this project. First thing, the company has taken a 40% interest approved by the Ministry of Finance in Camrai, which is the one who is a proprietary owner of the railway. As I speak to you, works are being launched to start expanding the capacities of Camrai from 1.5 million tons to 2.5 million tons, because the present capacity is only 1.5 million tons, which is for goods and human beings. To accommodate bauxite, we will increase the capacity. The government has a plan to realign the railway, but that will take about 7 years with funding from the European Union. Meantime, if we say that this is a short-term project, we can't wait for 7 years. So the company decided to put in its own funds. We're starting with 4.5 billion, which will initiate the works that will start in specific areas to allow the transportation of the first bauxite. That's what we'll be launching. We'll also be launching what we call the place where the road will be meeting the railway. So is the transition point between road and railway. We'll be launching the construction of that. We're launching the mine proper, stocking bauxite, ready to move. We'll be launching the road, 45 kilometers that link Minimatap to Makor, which is where the railway is, where the road and the railway meet. We'll be launching 2 social projects, one in health, one in education. We'll be launching the base camp, and we'll be showing Cameroonians that the locomotives and wagons for this project have already been ordered, because the Minister of Transport has given his go-ahead for all. Above all, we'll be showing Cameroonians that the feasibility study for the transformation of bauxite to alumina will be completed next year to allow the company to build a plant, a refinery of $2.5 billion. That's what we'll be showcasing on the 15th, and this will be seen. The works will be launched, all these 8 aspects. Besides that, the part in Douala, 8 hectares of land has already been acquired with all rails and the rest, which the company is working on now, which is where the bauxite will be stocked when it leaves. So we'll be exporting bauxite. Why? Because it's some of the best bauxite in the world. Otherwise, if it was the ordinary bauxite, it will not be worth it transporting bauxite 800 kilometers. The cost will make it a marginal project. So while transporting bauxite, we have insisted and obtained the transformation of that bauxite to alumina. That is why we build our aluminium industry. We will no more be importing alumina from Guinea or from other countries to fit our Alucam. Alucam will become one of the biggest companies in Africa because of this project. So here we are developing, well, I know we'll dive into the industry, but we are developing a value chain. Bauxite, alumina, aluminium, and then Prof Metal takes from there and produce the things that we use in our houses. So that's the project. It's not long term, we're launching. Just like Grand Zambi, on the 12th, even before going to Minimatap, they will start test production. We have put in place immediate energy of 12 megawatts for the mining first part to produce 1 million tons of concentrate. Second part will produce another 2 million. But on the 12th, we will start testing, and when we test, we will not stop anymore. We'll be producing, and our aim is that the first shipment of iron ore will take place, because we have also created a place at the port, Kribi port, for stocking of iron ore from Grand Zambi, which will be exported. These are realities. Not next month, this month. That is our strategy, short term, ongoing, medium term, long term.
That project in the Adamawa region of the country it's a huge one, with proven reserves of 99.1 million tons of bauxite. Tell us more about the weight of this.
The reserves there, in terms of what we call a resource, is over 1 billion tons. And so you have a part which the company is going to start with, where they have identified this high-grade ore, which is what they are struggling to export, because it sells highest. Now, the rest of the bauxite, which is maybe not so good, will be transformed. So all those reserves are far more than what you are citing. So it's a huge project, and it's going to have an impact. This project alone can make us an industrial giant in Africa.
Let's talk about the Grand Zambi iron ore project.
Yes.
How far?
I already preceded you by saying that on the 12th of this month, we will start doing testing. The problem of Grand Zambi was one, it was energy. we wanted to take energy from KPDC, and we found that the transmission lines, yes, KPDC provided us 60 megawatts of energy, but the transmission lines from there to Grand Zambi will take 18 months to construct. So we decided to use generating plants using heavy oils, and this, what the mining part needs is just 12 megawatt or 6 even. So that is available. That's why we'll start producing. While it might be expensive, energy from gas or from hydro is cheaper, but we believe that what the distance and closeness to the port will be offset. And next year, that company will start building a pipeline from Grand Zambi to the port of Kribi so that they don't use road. So this is a timeline. This is a project that is starting. But in the next phase, they will add the production to by another 2 million tons. And they will need 100 megawatts of energy because they want to convert the iron ore from 64% to 100%, which is what we'll call pellets. So when you see iron ore occurring in Kribi, it's 33% concentration. So what you see happening is to concentrate it from 33 to 64% minimum. That is what we export, as that is still mining. But when we move from 64% to 100%, pellets is now industry. That's what will make another value chain. Iron ore enrichment pellets. From those pellets, we now produce all our things we need. But do you know that all that you are seeing as iron rods produced in this country is because they collect iron wastes in places? And sometimes they are dangerous implements inside and they cause explosions. So there's no raw material. That's why we have limited and we don't more open new places for those things, because the raw material is not available. So we have created a value chain. When this is done, we'll have iron ore, even export it. Already produced in Cameroon, not just the mining that will be exported. That's where I think Cameroonians should focus, Mr. Babila. They should come and harness in the industrial transformation sector. If one Cameroonian has already started industry, not mining, not every Cameroonian must be involved in mining. There's a lot to transform. People who cannot be involved in mining can set up industries to take the raw material and transform locally. It is there where jobs are created. It is that part that will change the lives of Cameroonians.
Right. Tell us about the Kribi Lobe Iron Ore Project, the Mbalam Iron Ore Project, and then another one, the Kolomin Gold Project. These are three other major projects.
I must congratulate you for the chronology in which you have put this, because you take a very keen interest in our industry. You are actually citing the projects that I said are ongoing. So if you take now the Sinus Steel, go out to Kribi in your spare time, you'll be amazed. The whole forest zone has been transformed into a whole new town. 5 aspects. 1, you have at the top 2 sites where the ore is being stocked already. So in principle, mining has started at Sinus Steel. The next part is 2 enrichment plants, because their ore is slightly different from Grand Zambi. So the first enrichment plant will enrich the ore and will magnetize and reject some things, and the second one will do double enrichment. All that, I pray that when you are projecting this, we should really see some live pictures of what we are saying, or videos. And then the third part is that they have developed more than 50 megawatts of energy generating plants to use heavy oils ready. Now they have built a camp, living quarters, 1,000 housing units for workers who have not even been recruited. That's reality, and I want that you should show these pictures for Cameroonians to see. Now when you go to the other part, they are going to build a mineral terminal. We are working on it, and once government gives the approval, they will build a mineral terminal. So that project is expected to export iron ore next year. As for Mbalam, which is ongoing, we are putting there presently a treatment plant. There we are not, the problem of Mbalam is not like the problem of Grand Zambi or Sinus Steel. the iron ore is naturally enriched. So it's already ready to export. But what they are doing there, setting up a treatment plant, is just to remove dirt and other things from the already enriched iron ore. The problem there remains infrastructure. Now we have agreed with the company to make special trucks which will have 100 tons per truck. That's how it will transport. But it's conditioned by the fact that the railway must be initiated for us to allow this, because the project is not feasible by road because it's 540 kilometers away. Whereas Grand Zambi and Sino still are feasible by road, and even Grand Zambi, which is about 40 kilometers away, still wants to do a pipeline. So we believe that for road transport to be possible, we must see that there's a strategic partner who is building the railway before we can authorize that should happen. So these projects are ongoing. The problem on Balam is not about treating it, it's there. It's very similar to the problem of Minimata. How do you transport it? We have found a solution for Minimata. We will find a solution for Balam, knowing that there's a temporal means of transporting by road, but that shouldn't be a solution on its own.
And the Colomine?
Of course, the Colomine is, I must say that those who listen will always profit. I went to Colomine about some 15 months ago, and they were virtually doing what everybody does in those funny bowls, and then they would take their goal and go wash in the night. And I said, this is not the vision that the president would like to see of the mining we're doing. And I gave them an orientation to wash, and I mean to treat gold in a carbon-in system using a closed system. When they did that, their production has jumped from 4 kilograms a month to 60 kilograms a month. And if they are going to put 3 plants together, they will be producing 180 kilograms. That is already an industrial mine. And you saw me out there. We are doing an underground mining with well ventilated with vents and the rest, with the air vents and the rest of it. So we have transformed that, and that is a leadership where we say everybody must work in this type of closed system, which can be done at smaller scales. So the small guy working his semi-mechanism can do in a closed system which might not have the same capacity, even if it's producing 4 kilograms per month. It will be done in a unit that does not cost so much, but that respects the same kind of technological norms. So that project is a good example, and it is ongoing, and everything has changed. The community of Ngura will start benefiting royalties that will be paid. Projects have been designed. Many things. The mining code is being applied. If we allowed it to go the way we knew it, the people of that area have never benefited from it. That's why everybody says we have. Why are we suffering? That's why only a vision, only a strategy can liberate them from this curse of abundance, but suffering.
Cameroonians listening to you now would want to know, it's true that you've talked about job creation, you've talked about a series of issues, but the trickle-down effects, how all of these projects, these ones that we have mentioned, and the others, there are 16 of them, how all of these projects is going to change, transform the economy of the country, transform their living conditions, improve on the precarious situation which many Cameroonians, even those who are in those communities, are living today.
If you were a chance one time, I will invite you to attend the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative meetings. They put a table. They will show you what petroleum gives to this country. When they come to mining, you see the spaces are still blank. But as soon as Grand Zambi starts, those spaces will be filled. As soon as Mbalam is exporting, 10% will go to the state, to Sonamin, to be given directly to state treasury. It's not even, it's our own. And we will just ask them to translate it into money, and you enter into the state treasury. Taxes will be paid, corporate taxes will be paid. The local council will have royalties. Jobs will be created. Grand Zambia presently is boasting of 300 to 500 jobs, even before we go any further. Sinus Steel, go out there and see. They have built 1,000 houses. It's not to host ghosts, it's to host human beings. This is reality. And sometimes we can live with reality, but I think I'm just trying to tell people to be aware. We are not seeking publicity, we just want people to know. If we don't tell you all this, you will not believe that all this is going on in Cameroon. That's why I thank the gentleman of Sago, this government communication, because people might live next door. You can even go to Kribi, a guy is living in town, he doesn't know what is happening in Yolabe. So it's our duty to say, this is a reality. And once those boxes are filled with this, of course, the effects will be seen. The petroleum sector is sliding down. The mineral sector must be going up. And that's what we're about to see. The more projects, I like that we are starting with 5 projects. We are starting with some immediately. Just launching this in Gaundere is going to provide jobs for them. I mean, hundreds and thousands of youth, just these 8 activities alone, not to talk of when this will be a full-blown mine with all the things that I'm listing to you. We are laying the foundations, but that foundation starts with immediate gains, which you'll see this year.
What some Cameroonians find difficult to understand is the fact that the minerals are in Cameroon. All the resources are in Cameroon. They belong to the Cameroonian nation. But that nation is having only 10%.
No.
10%.
Of course.
And 90% goes to who?
No. Listen.
Companies?
Listen. You are not 10%. Grand Zambi is owned 100% by a Cameroonian. Are we together? But the government of Cameroon owns 10% in Grand Zambi, even though it's owned by a Cameroonian. You are talking about 10% government participation.
10%.
Good. So, if I invest $2 billion in something, and you invest nothing, when you are going to collect 35% taxes, when you are going to take 10% of it raw, that is my own, and still have 10% shareholding, when you don't spend a franc, if you go above a certain level, Mr. Babila, the project will collapse, because government is not putting in anything. So,
why is government putting nothing in it?
Because I started by telling you that in the world, governments do not get involved in mining. Mining is a very, very unpredictable business. And today, iron ore might be at $125, but 6 years ago, it was at $40. And most people had to close up. We are dealing with strategic companies where even if these prices fall, they have steel mills, they'll still bear the cost of running a company. So my question is, do a comparative study. Do you want the government of this country to take all that we have to build hospitals now, all that we have to do this and put into mining, whereas we can just take, because virtually if you transform that 10% production sharing into shares, it can actually be close to 20%. So in effect, if you take that and work it out, well, around 30 to 35% putting in nothing.
So in a nutshell, you're telling Cameroonians that that 10% is not insignificant.
No. We are not getting it right. There is 10% as shareholding, but there is a 10% different as production sharing. That means that when Balam will start today, for every 100 tons, 10% will be taken before those dividends will be discussed. That is the meaning of production sharing. And I'm saying to you that if you were to work that again as dividends, that 10% production sharing could be more than 20% if it was a share. Because in shares, you are not sure whether you will ever get a dividend. You only get a dividend if your company makes profits. So it is better to share your risk. Royalties, if you add royalties there, we're at how many? We're at 15% that we are taking directly from the company. Are we together? 15% plus 10% shareholding. And I'm saying to you that if you take this 15% and calculate as a share, we could be more than 30% for putting in zero with no risk.
let's take some interviews now, and when we come back in a short while, we'll look at issues of transparency in the extractive industries sector in Cameroon. Stay with us.
Thank you.
There's no peace in Bamenda, in Northwest and Southwest, sorry. There's no peace, so we like that they should create peace in this Northwest and Southwest of Cameroon.
We have so many problems in Bamenda as Anglophone crisis that nobody is safe again in Bamenda. We feel so many difficulties in our life.
The administration, the civil society, the church leaders, the traditional leaders, the elites, to put their hands on deck to ensure that we stop as soon as possible this issue of ghost town. It is not necessary. It is not for anybody's advantage. So we should do everything. It is, on the contrary, sapping away from the economic potential that the Northwest possesses. I've been round, I've seen the constructions that have been going on in spite of all of this. So why continue with this foolishness? It is no longer necessary. Thank you.
The road situation has gotten worse over the years, and I think we have a possibility as a community and a people, first of all, to say what is bothering us, because you can't get your problems adequately addressed if you don't put them on the table. What His Excellency the Prime Minister did here was wonderful, because he permitted us to seek and speak the concerns of the communities.
The government to see about the road, you are suffering about the road. Somebody cannot leave from here to the hospital. If you are a patient, you die on the way.
When you say what is wrong with roads, what is wrong with roads, I'll say that let us not make promises which we cannot fulfill. Let us make a promise short, even for 1 month, 2 months. You do what you do, and the population is going to see that you have done just what you can do within that period. Let's not make some highfalutin points, and then it turns out that we cannot.
Once again, and I'm announcing it, the imminent start of rehabilitation work on the Bamenda city roads.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we want to look at issues of transparency, and Cameroon has been suspended twice from the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. The first suspension in April 2021 was due to failure to publish the 2018 ET report. The second suspension, announced on March 1, 2024, cited insufficient progress in civil society engagement and government constraints on civil society's freedom of expression and association. And Cameroon is now working on a roadmap to address these issues and regain its 80 status. Mr. Minister, what happened? Why was Cameroon suspended twice for these reasons mentioned?
I must say that there are simple administrative bottlenecks. When you are not able to submit a report, is because different administrations have not responded to the call. What I've done since the Minister of Finance, who is the president of this committee, charged me as vice president to preside all the meetings, I have put in place a working mechanism. We publish our report. People are giving up. I said, no, we'll publish a report. We have published our report. And we are going to publish the next report 2 months before time. So we are addressing the issues. There are issues of bottlenecks in administrative procedures. So if you take the case of the civil society, it was simple. People always want to blame the state, but the civil society had some people who had stayed in the EIT for so long, and the International Secretariat said there's a period, you should not stay more than 10 years. But the civil society refused and gave the same people. And so to the Secretariat International, it was a condition. And they wanted the debate in the civil society to be animated more by fresh blood, by new ideas, by everything. And when we had to insist, and even when we insisted, after the suspension, we had to virtually remove somebody and say, you are not sitting in this session. So we have satisfied that condition. It was only a simple condition that the same people should not be seen every time. And we have passed that.
And about the administrative issues, have you settled that area? I'm even going to ask, but when you talk of administrative issues, who is not doing what? Who is not doing his job?
Who is not doing what? When we had the first structure, we changed the structure, which now gives the EIT initiative is placed under the Prime Minister, Head of Government, direct supervision with presidency as a supervisory authority. But before, this structure did not have a capacity to function. It was more like a project, a unit. It did not have a lot. So there was no controlling power from the permanent secretariat to enact actions. And today we have a structure that has a voice, that has a lot of things, that can appoint consultants, that can do many things. So that initial text has been changed, and that is why I'm using to pilot and make sure that reports are done. And I want to tell you that the Secretariat International came visiting us, and they are taking things like what I've said to you about the artisanal sector to apply to the whole world. We have structured our artisanal sector to be one of the best in the world, and they're giving us credit for that. We have ticked all the boxes, and if you are there, you hear their comments. So if we publish our report before time, as I've put a deadline, 2 months before the required date, our report will be ready. And I told the Secretariat International, when we'll get back to this business, we'll be the leaders of Africa as far as ETI is concerned. Yes. We cannot only lead in football and other things. We will lead EITI in terms of our ability to make things happen. That's why you see us going against the strata, there's resistance, there's everything, because we must make it work. It's painful, but the laws must be respected. EITI works on set principles. We don't go there to debate about the problem of this nation. They have given us, I like the French word, cahier de charge, to feel. You feel it according to, you tick the boxes. When you tick the boxes, you are okay. So we have met the EITI sessions to be streamlined to answers to what they want from us. We publish all our conventions on the website of Ministry of Mines. We have just sent recently the procedures for obtaining a mining license. It should be clear. What do you need for a semi-mechanized? What do you pay and to whom? What they want is that there should be no dark areas. And so when we publish that, we send it to Secretariat International. If somebody comes here and wants to get a license and somebody is playing a game, you can go to CONAC. You can, by the way, I do 3 things. I treat all the files, I go to the field to see that what I'm trying to put in place happening, and I listen to everybody. Thursday is free day. Anybody can come to this ministry without an audience and address his problem. If anybody has asked you to do something that is not allowed within the law, you can see me personally and bring up such a person. That's how transparent we want to be. So that is what is making us to move. We have put all the procedures at Sago. What do you need to get anything in this ministry? There's a procedural code which we are making available to anybody. And if anybody goes about that, I'm ready to listen to you directly. And I think we have put this across to International Secretariat for EITI, and I think they are giving us good marks already.
And Cameroon is expected to regain its membership by 2027.
Yeah, before that. If we put our reports well, we will go and ask before 2027 that, look, we were sluggish in some things. This structure that was supposed to run EITI was not there. So we are working from somewhere. Give us a chance. And we are going to put our case to be taken back before 2027.
Mr. Minister, there are allegations of corruption in the mining sector. What do you know about that?
That's why we have put out the procedures. You know, one thing I must say to you, I've taken it upon myself to set the foundations of this ministry based on practice that is found in all countries. Let me give you an example. If you have in a place where, let me take the industry sector, you have 250 something bureau d'études, more than the number of industries. How does that work out? But when you go inside, you find that most of these don't even have an office. They don't have a single qualified person. If you go out there to put order, attacks will be brought against you. I came to this I took over this interim function, what they call code power. That's what you collect from this revenues, which are where the ministry has to share the benefits. For 3 years, this ministry was not able to pay. I put in a mechanism of transparency, and that is paid 4 times a year now. And believe you me, what the law says, or as people project, I'm only hearing it, that the minister's cabinet is supposed to have 10%. I said no. What I used to have as a Secretary of State in that is maintained. All the records are there to be seen. Even me, people might be calling me minister or interim this. My government dues as minister, what is given to me as sovereignty, I still take what is meant for a Secretary of State. So, you see, the reforms that we are making are very profound. Let me give you another case. We want to open cement factories. People say that we are going to dilute the market. They don't want new factories. But this is how we did with gravel. Gravel used to be 20,000 a ton. We allowed many operators, and gravel has dropped to 4,000. It's Cameroonian benefit only. We believe in a free economy, so we open mini cement factories. You are under attack. We say whiskey should not be produced where you go to Douala and you see a toilet here and whiskey is next being produced. We close them. We are under attack. So I can tell you that when you have to, I said yesterday, the people of Dubai, the people of China use social media to say a guy has invented something about how this thing should work. He sends it to Colombia, to Australia, to everywhere. He becomes a billionaire. But we cannot use social media to settle scores and lie about people. The good thing about the country, and for which I respect the president, is that everything in Cameroon is verifiable. So if there's anything that is founded, I mean, you will get up and see in social media that this person has been appointed a minister on that, when it's not even founded with a false signature. That's why we are living. If you have to change the status quo, you must be challenged, and you must be ready for it. So that's what we are going through, because there's resistance, there's a lot of things. So if anybody is going to get a semi-mechanized, you are supposed to pay 61 million to the state treasury. If you go doing side business with anybody, and anybody is asking you, come and report to me, report to CONAC. So we can only say that what you see is all because our actions are touching a lot of things, and you have to be ready for it.
How challenging has it been for you as interim minister to put order, to put a mechanism that will prevent the widespread corruption that is reported in the mining sector?
First of all, start with the fact that people used to do things, digging everywhere. When you go to stop it, you must be fought. I mean, the attacks, you can't call them attacks. I think it's persecution. You have to be ready for it. Again, it's compounded by the fact that in a country like ours, some people believe that the ministry is reserved for a certain region. You also have political attacks. You have attacks from everywhere to discredit you and make you look stupid. But who cares? Anything in this country is verified, unfounded. If you had a system where people did not get something for 3 years, you come and make them to start getting it 4 years, and you have been 4 times a year, and you have been attacked. I mean, it's just so dirty and stupid, because I come from the private sector, and I think I'm not a civil servant. come in to give my expertise. I foolishly thought that it would be appreciated, but the attacks that I've received, I've just become immune to it, and I'm vaccinated against it, so I'll pursue. As far as you see, next week or some weeks to come, we'll be closing more whiskey factories. So you just have to keep on with it, and you know, truth gets better with time. Lies exist only for a while.
How much success have you achieved so far?
Well, you are the one to determine. If I say that we are going to start producing iron ore next week, saying that we are going to launch a project since independence, that every minister says, oh, they taught us about Minimatab in school. Today, Minimatab is a reality. Today, we have the first industrial gold mine. Today, we have the first pipeline being built, which will be built from Governor to this. Today, we have a mining sector that is structured where we have units that are producing gold to 90% recovery with a clean environment. I'm not the one to judge my success. It's for everybody to see. The whole national debate today is about mining. We are very happy to take center stage. I think we have provoked, we have initiated something, and we have to live up to what it takes when you want to change the status quo.
Thank you so much for your time and the insights you've shared with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Next week, we're coming back and we'll be taking you through the industrial sector of Cameroon. We'll be looking at the industrial strides of the country, the industrial drive of the country, how much has been done, what has not been done, what is yet to be done, and of course, we're looking at all of that, how Cameroon is moving towards becoming an industrial nation, so to speak, or an emerging country.